Welcome back to The Man That Can with Lachie Stuart. Today I'm very excited about this guest. It's been one I've been following for a very bloody long time, and now I've been fortunate to get you into the homemade studio. Tim runs the world. Tim Franklin, how are you, mate? Thanks
Good,
for coming
mate.
on the show.
No, thanks for having me, Lockie. No, it's good to finally meet face to face like we were talking. And I think we communicated over Instagram, then messages, then we spoke on the phone.
Well, that was pretty scary, wasn't it?
And now we're meeting face to face, so it's good to be here.
It's the evolution of friendships, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's how it
in
works.
2024,
The dating market. But mate, running the world. When I first heard about it, I didn't believe it and I did not understand it. But you've done it. I think you're one of four or
so I'm the eighth person.
eighth person in the world to be crazy enough to run the world. Firstly, why did you do it?
Yeah, that's probably the question I get asked the most. And a few reasons. One, I just wanted to, I like you, when I first heard of it, I didn't realise it was a thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you do it? What's it look like? What are the rules around it? So I met Tom Dennis. Tom Dennis is the only other Aussie to have done it.
Yep. Did you meet him on a plane? Was that...
I met him on the plane, so great story. We were flying out to run across the Simpson Desert as an ultra. And a guy that I was sitting next to was reading a book about running around the world, written by Tom Dennis, and Tom was sitting behind us, the row behind us on the plane, without
set up.
Like unbeknownst. So sliding doors moment. So I got to know Tommy over the race week. We spoke a lot about it, and I was fixated, I suppose, on doing it. That was 2017.
So 2017 though, and then you've decided you were going to do this desert run. Was that like your first ultra, or had you been doing things previously? Were you a runner?
Yeah, so historically, no, I wasn't a runner.
Yep.
I used to, when I was sort of a teenager, kid, played all the sports, right?
Yeah.
Lived a really normal Brisbane suburban life.
Yep.
Cricket in the summer, footy in the winter, and just running around the streets, just basically being a social maniac.
Yep.
Right, and then I got to my teenage years and my body started to fail me. I've got scoliosis, so curvature of the spine, Osgood Schlatters, which is growing pains in my knees, where tendons were tearing away from bone.
Wow.
I got one leg significantly shorter than the other, little like a very low grade spina bifida, all this sort of stuff. So what that meant when I went through puberty, my body grew. I was just in a lot of pain, and I hated moving all of a sudden, going from loving it to just didn't like it. So I became sedentary for the best part of a decade. Drinking, and then obviously you turn 18 and hit a party scene. So drinking, smoking, ingesting other things that I shouldn't be ingesting, and generally overeating and under moving, and got to about 120 kilos.
What are you weighing at the moment?
80.
So for those who want to see in reference to me, I'm 5'10" and about 83, and there's a photo that will be on social media that you can see the difference. Seeing you at 120, that's like so 25% of what you're at now, right?
Yeah, like an extra 40, like 50%, an extra 40 kilos on me. Yeah, and I go to the gym now and I can't even lift 40 kilos. I'm so weak after the run, but it's a huge difference, right?
Yep.
And then I just started running one day. A mate of mine said, let's do the Noosa Triathlon. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like, this is after a decade of very little movement, bit of cricket during the summer, but cricket was about how many cans I can drink. At the end of the day, you're not really moving, especially when I'm getting out for not many runs. So and then we started running, did 2.2 kilometers. That's how I sort of tell my story now when I'm up on stage. I talk about my 2.2 kilometer run, 28 minutes, vomited, got my mum to come pick me up because I was just cooked, and I had to literally ring her from a payphone.
And the old 1-800 reverse.
Exactly right. It was exactly right. And that's and I do a lot of talking to kids now, and I've got to explain to them what a payphone is. and then she came pick me up, but it just lit a fire. I loved it, man.
Talk me through that though. You hate it, or you didn't enjoy it. You're spewing. You're getting picked up. You're using a payphone, but then you fell in love with it. That just seems so not normal.
I guess that's probably a good way to describe it.
It's like if I'm throwing up, I don't know whether I'm going back very often.
Yeah, well, that's true. I guess I didn't enjoy that. What I really enjoyed was the challenge of it. That I wasn't. Right. It didn't come easy to me. Like athletically, an average Joe, right? Weekend warrior. But I love the grind. I've really fallen in love with the grind. I found the joy in just trying to it's all cliche, but it's so true for me. It's just trying to be the best athlete that I can be, living the life that I have to live. So obviously I have to work. I have to, like, I socialize, I've got to work, I've got, a normal life. But whilst I'm training, I'm trying to be the very best version of fit Tim. So that's what I fell in love with. I fell in love with how good can I be?
It's such a good way to flip that and focus on that sort of the growth that you can go down. Did you ever think about like the scoliosis and the knee issues and everything like that as a reason why like maybe I shouldn't do that?
Never. No, I never looked at anything like that as a reason why or an excuse why. I just was going to train as hard as I can sustainably. So look after my body to a degree, make sure that anytime there was a niggle, I get it looked at really quickly, get on top of it, but then keep working towards the goal. Obviously, when I started running, the goal wasn't running around the world. This was about 2005, I think.
Right. So nearly
it was about
10 years ago. 20 years.
So 20 years. I've been running about half my life now.
Crap.
Yeah. So I in all various things. The triathlon was the first endurance sport I got into, and then after about 10 years of doing that, doing like the Ironman and the Ultraman sort of triathlon, multi-day sort of triathlon, I fell into. Well, I just entered a multi-day run, like multi-day ultra marathon, where one of those ones where you got to carry all your own stuff. And I love the attritional nature of it. Like I love am I going to drop today, or who's going to drop today? Can I keep pushing?
Yeah.
But it's the people I met along the way which made the journey fun. Like I've made lifelong friends.
For sure, and meeting those like-minded people as well. Like I'm sure on your journeys throughout the run and all of that, you're meeting great people. But then the people that maybe you're training with, or I know you had 39 mates come and join you. Like the fact that they're investing their time to come support you is like these bonds and memories that only you guys get to experience and tell those stories. That is fucking incredible.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Like, and you'll experience the same thing, right? But it's really humbling as well. Like people are willing to give up their time, their money, time away from work, time away from their family to come and make you the best version of you.
Yeah.
So like it's that whole premise now that I've come back from the run. It's like be of service. Like be of service to others. If someone asks if I can help them, I'll do everything I can to say yes to it.
Did you have that sort of mindset prior, or was that something you learned through that experience?
I think it's something I learned. I think you'd have to ask others, but I think if I'm looking back and reflecting on me, I've been selfish.
Yeah.
I've been focused on what I'm doing and been unwilling to compromise. And I think that's probably reflected in my inability to maintain a long-term relationship, only because I have been so focused on, because I'm scared's probably not the right word, but really hesitant to go back to unhealthy Tim.
Yeah.
So I've kept training and be really consistent, really focused on that, because I'm afraid or scared of him coming back, because he's still in there, right? It's a battle, but so now what I want to do is open up, like so many people opened up their home for me on the run. So many people came and helped me on the run. So I want to do that. So like my home now, the door will be open for anyone that wants to come in.
Mate, I might come stay over for a few days.
anyone that needs, any assistance, if they reach out, I'm hoping that in some way I can help. And if I can't, then hopefully I can put someone else onto them or something like that. So yeah, just to be more of service, more selfless, I suppose, from here on out.
I think the beautiful thing for me hearing that from you is the focus on yourself, or being quote unquote selfish to get your health in order, build your habits and get yourself into a position where you can then go through and learn those lessons. I think a lot of us never become selfish enough to move the needle forward enough in our life where we can focus on giving back, because many of us are in, I guess, survival mode. And when we're in survival mode, whether it's financially not enjoying a career, or we just don't have the capacity to want to help other people. I know I've been in that position, but then you get on the other side and you're like, there's just an abundance. You can see what the other side looks like. So it's like, how can I pull other people up?
That's a great point. I think, it took, I don't want to say it was courageous, but I walked away from a legal career to coach. And
Can you talk to me about that, dude? Why? Sorry to cut you off, but why, because there's so many people that I know and listen to this show that are in a career that they don't like, and especially lawyers and doctors and stuff, they don't like it, but they won't leave it.
Yeah, well, it makes sense not to leave it, right?
Yeah.
It's comfortable. It's a great career. There's a like cash flow. I'm in a very unique position, right? I'm 41 years old now. Have been working pretty well full time my entire life, but I've got no dependents. I'm single, so I don't have the pressure of having to look after people, which makes it a lot easier for me to take a risk like that. But it's also one thing, and again, cliche, but we have one life, right? Like, I don't want to preach, but you get 60 good years to do as much cool stuff, change the needle of the world in some respect, have a journey, and tell a story at the end. Why not take a risk? Because and people always say to me, "We can go back to it. If everything turns to custard, I could just go back to it." And that's exactly right. And that's probably the same for a lot of people if they're willing to take the risk. You just got to go all in. I've worked with a lot of, especially younger kids coming through now that are sort of half pregnant.
Yeah,
they sort of want all this, but they're unwilling to give
all that.
All of it, all of themselves to it. I'm like, well, it's not going to work.
Yeah,
you can go in and then just get out if it. Give yourself some time and then get out if it's not what you thought, because sometimes the grass is not always greener.
Yeah, and we're worried about the decisions, and I think we think they are all, you can't change things, but the reality is, as you said, you can, and that's where the feedback comes from. If you dip in one toe, you're never going to really know.
Well, that's right. If you're going to go all in.
Yeah.
And that's what I do probably with everything. But the other paradigm shift I probably had in thinking during the run was, so many people think about things or doing things or setting goals that are big, hairy, and audacious, and going all in. Like, what can go wrong?
Yeah.
And that's where they're focused on, like, what are they're so risk averse, and as a society, I think that's just how we're planned. Right? That's how we survive.
For sure.
But I just flipped it and said, well, what happens if it goes right? What happens if I pull it off? What happens if I become the 8th person to run around the world? What happens if I have a million stories to tell? What happens if I can, inspire some young kids to launch in and do something cool? What happens if I can get, I've had messages since finishing and throughout it, like, Tim, I haven't run in 10 years and I just finished my first 5K because I followed your story. Like, that for me is what I did it for. I wanted to get the world moving. And all these stories, I spoke to a school yesterday, and a young kid from the school messaged me last night and said, mate, I resonate with your story. It meant so much to me. I'm now trying to, paddle for Australia in the 2032 Olympics, blah, 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 and all this stuff. Like, and that just, if I can light a fire in one person, 1 million people, 10 million people, who cares? If you just make that change, then I've left the world better than what I arrived. And that's sort of, I suppose, where I'm aiming to be.
You make it sound so easy, like in regard, and I know it wasn't easy for you because I've watched a lot of your stuff and listened to a lot of your stuff. But when you're saying that, I'm like, dude, your confidence is bulletproof, and your ability to focus on the positive over what's naturally the negative for many of us, to take those risks. And I think why I was drawn to what you did, and why, you had me in tears in some videos, especially, we'll talk about your dad and a lot of the stuff that you went through. But it was just your ability to find the positive and just do it. And for me, in the work that I do, I talk to people all day, every day, telling me what they want to do, but never really backing it up and doing it. So when I meet individuals like you, I'm instantly inspired, and it makes me want to go harder and want to elevate, because I'm like, man, to your point, we've got one life. What stories do I want to be on my deathbed or when I'm 70 and 80 and be able to tell those stories when my body can no longer do that?
Yeah, well, that's right. Like, my whole premise is just to go as hard as I can until my battery's run out. Right? Like, do as much as I can. Say yes to things. Because it's funny, when I was a kid growing up, I was a homebody. I didn't really enjoy, like, I'd be invited to, like, friends for sleepovers and stuff, and I'd be like, nah, I'd rather, no thanks. I just uncomfortable in situations that wasn't comfortable, right? So, but now I'm like, all right, how uncomfortable can I get? What's my next adventure? Let's go. I don't want to be at home anymore. And I think I've learnt that as I've matured. And the run taught me that. The run was like, you will sleep and you will enjoy whatever we can throw, whatever is thrown at you. and I had to just adapt to whatever we had, and yeah, I mean, I think now after the run, I can look at anything and be like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah, I can get that done. How? We'll work through it. But I'm thinking I will do it. Not, oh, nah, maybe. There's just, I will. Now let's take a step back and plan how we're going to do it. And that's a great way to live, but it also is going to slap me in the face a few times.
Yeah.
But who cares?
Yeah.
And that's another thing, like ego, right? The reason why people don't do things is they're worried about what other people think.
Was there, any point, I guess, well, let's go back a few steps, because there's so many questions that are just popping into my head. But you sat next to them on the plane and you're like, oh, that's a thing. Maybe I could do that. What happened between then? So that was 2017-ish. Yeah. And then you started the run 2022?
Yeah, December 2022.
Yeah. So in that 5-year period, give us a bit of a snapshot of what was going on, the planning, the decisions, all of that sort of stuff, leaving your career.
Yeah, so I was still working full-time at that stage as a lawyer, and I sort of came back from the run, and it just piqued my interest. I wasn't all in on it, but I was like, oh, I'm going to look at this. Sounds cool. And then not long after that, I probably walked away from the law, went into coaching 2018, 2019 on a full-time basis with the Tri Squad, and then coaching at a few schools around Brizzy as well. And then probably 19, I was like, I sat a few mates down and said, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Let's rock and roll. And that was probably early 19. And I was going to start.
What was what were their feedback or their reactions to that?
Awesomely. And this is one thing I talk about as well. And then when I do my goal setting programs and stuff, is surround yourself with people that want to make you better, that want you to succeed. And to a man and a woman, every one of them was like, how can I help? What do you want me to do? Let's do this. Not one. The only people that were hesitant on it were medical professionals or people that care for me, and they were worried about my health. Yeah. There was no one that said, no, don't do it. No, you can't do it. Like everyone was like, which is a great circle. I couldn't be any more blessed with the people in my life. Like I could, like whether it's luck or good management, or maybe I'm not as big a douchebag as I think I am. That like I've surrounded myself with people that just want me to succeed. And that even happened on the run through the social media. There was zero negativity on like the feed around it, like maybe one or two, but nothing. And
that's incredible. That like speaks volumes to how you were showing up as well.
Well, yeah, I hope so. I hope that the people, the person that you saw on Instagram, on the social media, is the same guy that you meet. Yeah, like that's who I wanted to be. That's just who I am. I can't portray. Like, it's too hard as well. Like I was too tired.
Yeah, I can imagine.
To try and be someone on a different persona on social media. And so we sat down in 2019. There was like 5 of us, and we went, right, let's do this, just mates. And then I was going to start in 2020. Yep. At the end, I was actually going to start in June of 2020. But then COVID hit. So that whole thing hit, and we were like, so we just delayed it, just paused it, just kept training, and my training was just running.
What was that like? Were you trying to hit a certain goal of kilometers a week, or
to a degree? We there was a plan. The plan was just a slow build. I was really conscious of not turning a 500-600 day run into like 1,000-day run with too much training. Yeah. So I was doing pretty consistently like 100-mile plus weeks. Yeah. But none of it in any intensity. Yeah. Maybe one sort of speed session a week, or I'd run park run sort of every Saturday as part of a long run. But that was it. It was just all sustainable build. So I knew if I finished, I could either keep running if I wanted to, or wake up the next morning and go.
That's cool, yeah.
And that's the you'll very shortly find out. The superpower is being able to get up and go again the next day.
Talk me through what that process looked like for you, because you were doing 60k.
Yeah, so I was doing at the end. I think days that I ran, I was averaging like 53.5 k's a day for the whole time, and I think I had 23 or 24 days off.
Wow.
But at the start, I was doing 65s pretty consistently.
How does the body recover? Like, people ask me, and I'm like, 42 is nothing, and then you're throwing another 50% on what I'm doing. How the hell are you recovering?
Well, I think I just prepared for it.
Yeah.
I think that's all it was, because at the end of the day, I wasn't doing anything specifically. Obviously, your body adapts, so there were injuries. Like I got probably 3 or 4 weeks in, I got my first, like, my right quad was awful. Like, it was just sore, but it was just sore because it was under so much load.
Yeah.
Right. I was doing 420, 450K weeks. So of course there's going to be, your body's adapting to that.
Yes.
So as long as you are aware that that's going to happen and you can just switch off, like, again, I'm not a David Goggins guy where, 40% you can just bury yourself and keep going. That's ridiculousness. My approach is just be sustainable. I want to be running when I'm 80.
Yes.
I want everyone to be exercising
I'm
their whole life.
glad you say that, because that's one thing I've thought about, like my approach as well. Well, watching Ned Brockman with his 1,000 mile challenge, like, he buried himself and probably going to have a fair chunk of time off. I look at that and I'm inspired by that. But when I think about it, I'm like, I think it would do more damage to me mentally, like in the head, not being able to train for X amount of time. So I want to do my run in a way that, it pushes myself and I challenge myself. But I know maybe, I don't know what's realistic, but I'm hoping like a 2 to 3 week turnaround, I can sort of start getting back into normal training.
Well, I'm 3.5 months finished now, and I've kept running. I think I had like 2 or 3 days off after I finished, and then started moving my body again. And I'm still not moving anywhere near as freely as I was previous run, but I got through a Sydney marathon. I've just finished a Melbourne marathon, and back in the gym, although it probably doesn't look like it, and just enjoying movement. I'm in love with it still.
Yeah.
So it was sustainable enough, my approach, that I didn't need to take time off to refresh mentally.
Yeah.
Like, I've had ups and downs, but I think what I'm struggling the most with is like missing the adventure.
Yeah.
Not so much the athleticism of it, because I can still do that. I still want to do that.
Yeah.
There are days where I'm like, I don't want to run today, but I still want to be out there and running, and I just haven't. So from that end, physically, I'm not too bad.
That's incredible.
Yeah, mentally, I'm getting there as well, and it's not the running that's buried me. It's the missing the adventure and missing the, like, what's going to happen today. When I was in it, I hated it. Like, I didn't hate it, but that was a stressor.
Yes.
And like, where are we staying? What am I eating?
Then some of those logistics that you dealt with are mind blowing. Like, thinking about that at the end of the day, like, where are we sleeping tonight?
Yeah, and especially because it was fully self-funded, so I didn't have a crew. I had just like one, and that sometimes 2 mates with me, and we're in countries where we can't speak the language.
Yeah.
Internet shabby. We're literally in South America. Damo, who crewed for about 150 days, we were driving into towns and like knocking on doors. Are you guys open? Is this motel open? Because it was winter as well, so a lot of places are closed. We were like, you guys have a room? We're like, and they're like, no English. And we were like, no English. And we're like, no Espanol. So we're like, just like standing there and like Google translating or like pointing at things. So,
solving problems.
Yeah, solving problems on the go. But that's what makes it what it was as well.
Stories, right?
That's why 8 people have done it.
What's it like running through the snow? Like,
brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. Yeah, it was Europe was the worst, Germany in particular. I got hit with all sorts of weather events. But yeah, it was brutal. That's a lot of mind as well. Like, it's like minus 15 degrees outside. And I'm there going, all right, yeah, let's go out. And it's just like really icy on the ground and then snowing. And
did you not freeze? Like,
yeah, I don't know. Good question. Because I only ever wore shorts. I never wore. I've got jeans on now, and that's only because I'm going to go present this afternoon. I hate wearing long pants.
Ran in snow in shorts.
Yeah, shorts, and just Hoka Cliftons. Nothing special about them. Didn't put any like Gore-Tex cover on it or anything. Should I have? Yeah,
That is
probably.
iconic.
But just in the moment, I was like, it's just unimportant.
I feel like I've overthought it then too much.
But I think I went in naively and probably somewhat underprepared, but I think that worked in my favour.
Yeah.
Because if I'd overplanned it, plans went out the window instantly.
Yeah.
So I think under planning allowed me to have that flexibility in the mindset of this is normal. Yeah. So I just did it, because I think if I'm usually a chronic overthinker. Yeah. So if I had something planned and it wasn't going, you'd be like, oh no.
Stressing about not
stressing about it. Yeah, exactly right. Whereas we were just like, oh yeah. By the end of it, we were like it is what it is became like the catchphrase of the run.
Because everyone's been asking me that for the snows, because we're doing it in winter, obviously.
Yeah.
In the US, and I didn't really give it much thought. And then as I started Googling it to suss it out, then people were you need to have the right temperature, because you could either get so cold you get hypothermia, or you could be wearing too much that you sweat and you get hypothermia. I'm like, so either way, I'm getting hypothermia.
Well, I started in San Fran on the 1st of January. So I did San Fran down to LA, and then across Long Beach, then into New Mexico. Well, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas,
you got
Oklahoma, Kansas, back into Texas, and then Louisiana, all that Alabama, all those
just
across
and Tennessee, all the way across,
all across,
Carolina,
into South Carolina. That's where I completed the states. I hit the ocean, and then went up to New York, and it was cold, but it wasn't it got hotter.
So to be fair, we're probably running because you were not driving, you were running, right? So we would have been running similar temperatures then.
Yeah.
We probably will be.
Yeah.
So, and you can run it in shorts.
I ran in shorts. A lot of it I was running California. California I got hit with that all the rain. Yeah. So we got flooded three times. I got flooded in San Fran when we first arrived. Then we got flooded. The Big Sur was closed, so I couldn't run down the Big Sur. So I had to run on the 1.
Oh my goodness.
Which was chaos. I got told to get off it 6 or 7 times by the cops. And then it flooded a couple of days later, and then it hosed down when I was running into LA, on the pier and stuff. It was chaos, the whole. And then it snowed when we were in Arizona. Got a whiteout, got blizzard. I was like, what is going on?
I can't picture it snowing in Arizona with how hot it was when we were
it was we were really high. We got to 7,500 feet.
How did the altitude affect?
Nah, I didn't. Yeah, I've been pretty lucky, I think. Yeah. That it doesn't. Well, I don't know, but it didn't seem. I never was gasping or anything. I felt pretty good up and over. And then we got hit by a tornado in Kansas as well. It was all that happened in the space of the first 2 months. I was like, what?
I've got another 2 years.
Yeah. I did not sign up for this. It was utter chaos. But as long I just had gloves. A couple of days in Texas were cold.
Yep.
Just gloves and a buff and a couple of layers on top, and it was fine. As long as once you start moving, obviously.
That's good to know though, because people's opinions have been getting into my head a little bit there.
Yeah, and I think you can manage exactly where you're going to run as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think. I wouldn't. I mean, the weather was more of an issue for us, and what roads are open, and what roads are closed, and can we get through? That was a bigger deal. So I couldn't go up. I was going to run up through Flagstaff and obviously do the historic Forrest Gump, and get that photo back along Monument Valley there. But it was all closed because they had so much snow when we were there. So we had to change our course. It's just a real metaphor for life, right? You can plan everything to within an inch of its life, but something's going to get in your way, and it's just how you can't change it, but how you react to it is everything. So it's oh well, it is what it is, and this is the new path.
It's almost like you've condensed. You said you were working in your career for X amount of years, and that's a season of life. But the run in itself, the 19 months or 18 months, you got to experience so many different seasons and challenges in a condensed period, and that's why you've probably learnt so much in that experience, and that's why I personally love doing things like that, because it just condenses and helps remind you about what's actually important. And I think a lot of the time, for you, it's like family and the memories that you're having, challenging yourself, being comfortable with yourself as well, because a lot of people could never just be in their own head for as long as you were, while you're running for 576.
Yeah.
Like, that's a long time.
A long time. A long time. When it's funny, days felt long, weeks went quick.
Yeah.
And now I look back, it was all over in a flash.
Weeks felt quick.
Yeah. It was, and it's all over in a flash. I can't believe it was 3.5 months ago and it's done. And I probably, huge deal. But I'm just Tim Franklin from Brisbane.
Yeah.
Right. I'm as regular Joe. Or at least I think I am. Right. As regular Joe as anyone you'll meet. Just a weekend warrior that enjoys it and went on an adventure.
Yeah.
But people are so interested in it and so invested in it, which is so humbling.
Yeah.
So it's so cool, but really humbling. Like I'm just me. And
you're doing what most people want to do, but they allow fear and comfort and all those things to hold them back. And that's what I said a moment ago, why I'm so inspired by it as well, because it's just like, and you were holding down a gnarly job as a lawyer as well. So to say walking away from the pay packet and all of that is like such a big deal in my eyes with where I've come through. I'm like, this guy's crazy, but also super inspiring. If you can do it, it's like giving me hope to want to go do things like that as well. But for you, the moment that obviously, you guys were all planning around it, and let's go to like a week before you're about to kick off, like what were the feelings that you were
experiencing? Absolutely. I got a message from someone that I respected a lot to say, you won't make it past January. Which is not what I wanted to hear.
No.
When I'm packing up my life, I'm putting everything I own into boxes, I'm selling most of it to pay for this thing. And then this guy tells me that I'm not going to make it past January. On the Monday, I think I got that message. So, yeah, it was pretty, that knocked me around because I respected his opinion so much.
Yep.
And I was like, what have I done? Am I going to cook this?
Yep.
Right. And so for the week leading in, I was as nervous as I've ever been. And I'm not sure whether I would have been as nervous or worried if I hadn't received that message. Who knows? Don't know. But I was still excited, like to go on an adventure of a lifetime. But I remember being on like sunrise.
Yep.
On maybe the Wednesday before I started on the Saturday, or even later, maybe it was the Friday, and I was nauseous at how nervous I was. And it wasn't about being on the TV. I was just like, holy shit, this thing's starting tomorrow, and old mate doesn't think I'm going to make it past January. What have I done? And then I was just discombobulating basically. But then I just put it to the side, and once I woke up on the Saturday morning, I just started, and that was my happy place.
I love that. And have you spoken to old Bud since?
Nah, nothing. No, and I won't. I don't need to.
Out?
Yeah, no. Don't need to, don't want to.
So the doubters, and I always think about where they're coming from. Like, I don't ever feel like they want to see you fail, but maybe they're looking at you going, I wish I did that, or, had the balls to take a risk and do something different rather than what I'm doing, because the story when you get on that hamster wheel, it's just monotonous, right? As you said, you were in this adventure for so long.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know why he sent it, why he felt the need to send it. I'd be interested in that, to be honest. And maybe it was just him I don't think you'll make it because I don't think you've done the work, whatever. But I also was doing it and motivated intrinsically. Like I wasn't doing it to become famous. I wasn't doing it to make millions of dollars. It cost me a shit ton, right? Like, so I wasn't doing it to get rich. I wasn't doing it to become famous. I was doing it because I wanted to go on an adventure. I wanted to see the world. I love to run, and I want to spend it with really good mates. Like there was intrinsic drivers. Like I never did it for external validation. Did I obviously get external validation along the way? Yeah, people said I was inspiring and I'm a legend. That's really good. Yeah. That's really good for the ego, right? That's really good for the ego. It's really nice to hear, but that was never the reason I did it. It wasn't like I had charity partners, but again, it wasn't around the charity partners. If I raised some money and some awareness, awesome, that's a great side benefit, but it wasn't about that. It was little old Timbo going on an adventure.
And people, from my experience as well with my runs, and people always feel like there needs to be some significant reason other than just the fact that you want to do it.
Yeah.
Like for the 50 marathons, like I was inspired after talking to James Lawrence, the Iron Cowboy, and I was looking for my next thing. I wasn't quite sure, and I said to my wife, like, before we have kids, I just want one more like crack at something. I'm not sure what it is, but just give me, we've moved overseas for you, let me have something. And she was like, yeah, sure. And then speaking with him, I was like, 50 marathons. Then I saw someone had done it. I was like, I'll put my own spin on it and include Australia in there. I was like, cool. But seeing America in winter, like traveling with one of my best mates, like the adventures and there'll be a lot of tough stuff, but that excites me. And people are like, what's the huge reason why you're doing it? I'm like, I just like the idea that when I'm 70 or 80, Liam and I will be able to sit around with a beer or a coffee and reminisce on that. Like I don't just want to tell the same story where I was sitting at my computer for my whole life.
Yeah. Well, one of my best mates, she said to me, because I was like, oh, do I attach a charity partner to it? She said, it's okay. I don't know why the world thinks it's not okay for people to just do something because they want to do it.
Correct.
To go on an adventure. So she's like, don't force yourself to do it. Just do it because you want to do it. But I've worked with
great advice.
It was great advice, right? But the first question is, are you doing it for a cause, right? That's literally, and you'll get the same question. It seems to be that, what's the cause? And you're like, well, I'm doing it for me, but I've also attached. Yeah. So, and I work, Inspiring Brighter Futures is my main charity. I work for them. Yeah. I volunteer for them. I love it. It was started by my grade 7 school teacher. I'm awesome. All in on it, right? It's a ripping thing. It's started here in Brizzy. We're now spread to like Queensland, national soon. All because he came up with an idea of helping kids, right? So it's awesome. So it means a lot, but that wasn't my why. My why is I wanted to do it for me. I want to get the world moving. I think people that move in the world are better people. If we all move, we're better communities. We have better communities. It's a great place to live.
Simple and very effective. What were some of the hardships that you experienced? Because I can't imagine for 576 days you're just in the best mindset the whole time, right?
No, I was an asshole for a lot of it. I think if you ask my crew, I wasn't the best version of myself. But they were very good about that. I think the hardships were obviously the injuries. Yep. About 80 days in across the stuff. Well, in New Zealand, my right quad went a bit funny, but it came good after a few days, and then I got like tendonitis through both shins. I thought it was shin splints. I thought it was all over. It was painful. Like the elasticity of a sock was like making me cry. The pain on the shin. So I was like, this is not good. But I just I took some painkillers and just rolled through it. Went from doing 65 a day down to like 55 to 60. Really painfully, but I was either going to come good or I was going to break. And I didn't, so I just kept rolling through. And this is the interesting talk about. I'm not, it's not mental toughness to run through pain. Like it's actual potentially stupidity, but it was manageable pain, and I knew if I got to a level, I would pull it back. So I got tendonitis through the States, which lasted probably 3 weeks, and then my right hip went in Germany, and it went like it was like I couldn't hardly walk. I couldn't weight bear for a couple of days, so I went to hospital while I was in Germany just to get it looked at. There was no break. The doctor said, I think he said, because he couldn't speak English and I can't speak any German, I think he said, you're going to be as good as how much pain you can
That's
handle.
it.
That was it. It's not, there's no break. It's just inflamed muscles which are putting pressure on your nerves, and it's nerve damage. But it'll eventually come good. It's just you're going to have to put up with pain, and that was really painful. So for like a month through Europe, I was like, I'm ringing Mum and going, Mum, I'm coming home. This is shit. Like I've cooked it. But eventually it came good, and so
why didn't you come home?
She said you'll regret it for the rest of your life, and I was like, yeah, probably would. So I just kept pushing, kept waking up, did everything right, stretch, massage, looked after it, and eventually it just came good. Yeah, and I didn't want to come home. I wanted to finish it. Yeah. And then obviously probably the hardest thing was the news I got when we were about 100 days in. I can't actually remember. I say anywhere between 80 and 150 days from the start because I can't really remember, but I was running along and my phone rang and it was my parents and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm running." And they're like, "Well, you might want to sit down for this." And the RV was just up ahead, so I said, "Oh, well, I'm just coming up to the RV." And then I called them back and they told me that Dad had just been diagnosed with terminal cancer and he had like 3 months to live, which was that's probably the hardest conversation I've ever had to have, let alone when I'm physically in a hole away from missing. Like emotionally not anywhere near as strong as I would be normally. So that was pretty tough news to get.
What do you do with that news though? So you let's say we'll use it. You're 100 days in, so you've still technically got like 400. And you got a couple ahead of you.
Yeah.
Like, did you think about quitting then? Did you go home? Like, what happened?
Yeah, I would never have. My parents would never have let me quit around that.
Yeah.
They're like, we'd spoken about, obviously they were getting older when I started the run, so we'd spoken about if something happens, what does it look like? You know, if there's a tragedy, do I come home? Like we'd spoken about all this, but talk's cheap, right?
Yeah, for sure.
When then eventually that phone call happened, and that actually delayed telling me. So he actually got diagnosed like a couple of weeks after I left, and they didn't tell me until the March. I think it must have been March. Yeah, so they didn't tell me until March. So
did he have 3 months from then, or 3 months?
So it was 3. Well, it was like 2 or 3 months from when they phoned me. So it was 6 months.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell me, and obviously that was to protect me.
Yeah.
But I blew up at them, and I said, "I need to tell me." So I'd constantly ring them. How are you? Yeah, good. And I'm like, "Are you really good, or are you fucking dying?" Like how? Like just be honest with me. Stop bullshitting. So eventually, I just cracked it one day, and they said, "Well, we're going back to the oncologist next week. We'll give you an update." And I said, "Cool." All right. And then they went back. They went back to the oncologist, and they said he's got like 3 weeks. So at that time, they're like, if Tim wants to come home, he's got to come now. And at the time, my brother was working in the Solomon Islands as well. So we were both away, and it was just my sister in Brizzy, and she's busy with 3 kids and stuff. So we were like, righto, we'll, I'll come home. But it was, it's never good timing, right? But it was good timing in that I had reached the other side of the states. So I'd reached South Carolina, reached the Indian Ocean. So I was just going up to New York. So took a little bit pressure off from that end. And the only thing it destroyed the world record attempt.
Yeah.
But so I want to say that it was an instant decision, and I just no brainer to go home. But I ummed and ahed for 24 hours. Like, what am I doing? You got to go. And then so I decided to go. Jumped on a plane. And it landed wheels down in Brisbane, and I knew exactly that's what I needed to be.
That's so good.
It was the right decision. It was a no-brainer.
How did you feel emotionally? Like when obviously you said you knew you needed to be there, but like emotionally, you're going to go see your dad for potentially the last time. Like, how does that feel?
I think one thing that my parents have taught me is be very pragmatic. He's very pragmatic. My mum's the most pragmatic person you'll ever meet in your life. So it was just real matter of fact.
Yep.
Like I was sitting on the plane. I was a mess on the plane because I hadn't slept. I didn't know what fucking day of the week it was.
Yep.
My body was...
What was it like flying
awful.
in this state? Yeah. Okay.
Awful. So I did like 50 hours commuting in a week to get home and then back again. So it was like 50 hours on a plane in 10 days or something. Yeah, so and not knowing what like time of day or day of the week it was just a blur. Starting again was really hard, but coming back, saying goodbye, like the whole family was around each other for like 6 or 7 days, and that hasn't happened in our family for years and years and years, just because we've been scattered around the globe or doing different things or just busy. So it was really, really nice. And like, so that was on the Thursday I was flying back out. So I think I got in on the Tuesday or the Wednesday before and left again the following Thursday. And Dad was going into palliative care that day. So he goes, the last words he said to me is, "You go finish that damn run," and like they made me go, and I was like, okay, I'm going. And then he passed away the next day, so the Friday. So he passed away while I was in the air. So I landed back in LA and then flew all the way across the country. I couldn't have been any further away as well. I was like flying to Raleigh in North Carolina. So it was a long, long trip, and got the news, and I mean, I knew it was happening.
Yeah.
So I was like, and I don't think I had any tears left. I think I'd broken down that many times on the run. I was like, and then starting again was physically the hardest thing I've ever done. Like I don't know, and obviously emotion took a lot out of me as well, but physically, like the first day, I don't think we ran. I think I looked at Damo and said, "Not a chance. Let's go drink beers." And then the next day, I think I ran 12, and then the next day I ran 18, and then eventually I got up to 30, and then 40, and then back over 50s, and away we went. But yeah, really, really challenging time. Yeah, and then obviously I wasn't there for the funeral, which was even harder.
Yeah.
I just literally watched it on my phone. Yeah, I watched it on my phone. And that's one good thing about COVID, right? Set all that stuff up. But I'm watching my dad's funeral on an iPhone going, "You selfish prick." You know, like, should you be there? But he wanted me to be on the road. Mum wanted me to be on the road. So, but it was, it didn't necessarily at the time make it easier, but I knew deep down that that's what they wanted.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I could imagine he'd be proud of you, and I'm sure you wish you'd have that one last beer with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Have that one. Hear one of his shit jokes again. Yeah.
I think for me that was a massive reminder for me. Like, I read a book a couple of years ago, 5 Regrets of the Dying, or something like that, by Bronnie Ware, who was a palliative care nurse. And I read it probably every 12 months. I've read it 3 times now, and it talks about like people on their deathbed, what their regrets are. And you're like, fuck, if you hear that from people who much older and wiser than me lived their life, and that's the things that they wish they focused on, that's, influences a lot of my decisions. And my dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer at our wedding. He couldn't piss for the whole week. Like, didn't say anything. He was just in pain. And then next minute, we're like, "You're going to the hospital, mate." And then finds out he has prostate cancer. And like, you're looking at your dad, who for me was like always invincible and bulletproof, and still like a blokey bloke that doesn't like to complain or whatever, which is probably a detrimental thing now. And you're like, oh, fuck, you don't have that much time left. So how do what memories do I want to have with you, but also how would I like you to see me when you go, sort of thing. And I guess to your point, it's like you've left your dad with a beautiful image of you chasing your dreams and doing some incredible things.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I hope that I mean, he did, well, and Mum continues to do so much for me, like everything, right? Like everything as a kid, education, food on the table, roof over the head, clothes on the back, all that stuff. Every time I zigged when I should have zagged, they were there to pick me up. I mean, belted me up a few times, but
course correct.
always deserved good discipline. But I hope so. I hope that that he's wherever he is now, he's proud of what not just me but my siblings have done as well.
How do you hope to be remembered? Like, now that I think, it's not even what I think, but you're on this path of wanting to have adventures, wanting to inspire people, wanting to get people moving. When it comes to the end of your time, like, how do you want people to be talking about you?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a question I ask as well in my goal setting program. Like, if someone's going to write your eulogy, what are they going to say about you? Or someone's making a speech at your 21st for the kids I'd speak to, what is it you want them to say? And I just want people, how do I say this? I just want people to be intrinsically motivated to aspire to be as much as they can, to be the best version of themselves. Whatever that is, whatever the endeavor is. I mean, it doesn't have to be athletic. Athletic is just what I've chosen because I'm a sports nuffy and I love it. But whether it's to be the best doctor, whether it's to be the best social worker, best piano player, best scientist, best drummer, best actor, whatever, just to be intrinsically motivated to be the very best version of themselves. The caveat there is be of service of others. I think, and that's one thing that I have got a lot of work to do, but I'm definitely moving towards.
You're doing some. Sorry to cut.
Oh no, I was just going to say, yeah. Hopefully, I'll just leave. I mean, it's again like everyone wants to leave the world a better place.
Yeah.
Than they got here. Well, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people.
99%.
Yeah. And that's because at the end of the day, my generation's going to know. No, my nieces and nephews and goddaughters, they'll know me, and maybe their kids might know me. But after that, I'm forgotten.
Yep.
I'm just a headstone or a plaque. That's who Tim Franklin was or is. So just go at it, hammer and tong, until your batteries run out.
Your batteries run out. I love that one. We're sort of zigging and zagging here, which is fine because I love it. But what are the rules of the world run? Because I'd love to give people some context around that.
We haven't really spoken about that. So the rules state that you have to run a minimum of 26,232 kilometers. You have to start and finish at the same place. You have to pass every line of longitude in one direction, whether you're running, flying, on a boat, however. You have to run a minimum of 4 continents, and for a continent to count, you have to run from, or at least at some stage, touch 1 kilometer of the ocean on one side and finish within 1 kilometer of the ocean on the other side. And a minimum of 3,000 kilometers on a minimum of 4 continents. It has to be a continuous run, so you've got to start the day exactly where you finished the day before. So you might have to come back, and you got to and start and finish in the same spot. Other main rules,
That's incredible. Yes. Who made those rules? How does?
Great question. I think it's just it's called the World Runners Association.
Okay.
So it's an arbitrary body, and it's literally made up of the people that have done it, and one guy that presides over everything, just to make sure that people aren't claiming things. So they look at all the data and all the information. So I've got to provide. Like I've got a spreadsheet that I'm putting in that's got, the longitude and latitude of where I started, where I finished every day, the town of where I started and finished every day, distance, elevation gained, calories burned, average heart rate, just as much information as I can put in there. So because my watches didn't always work or didn't always upload or something went wrong, so there's obviously a few holes in it. It's an honesty box as much as anything. But I finished with 26,245 kilometers. So
did a few extra there.
So I did 12. I did 12 extra deliberately so I could know Australians run further than me in one continuous run. So I took out Tommy. And I ran the length of New Zealand, which obviously not a continent, but then ran across the US, across South America from Chile to Argentina. Then I ran the length of the Thames River in the UK, in England. That was pretty cool. That was a really fun run. There was really good weather. And so that was awesome. Then I ran from Portugal to the Black Sea in Constanta in Romania. So across Europe was cool. And then I did a little bit of Asia, ran Malaysia and Singapore, and that was brutal. Left Romania, it was -11. Flew into Malaysia, it was 37 and 93%
Good contrast
humidity.
there,
Oh, I thought I was dying. Honestly, the first couple of days of running in Malaysia, I was like, holy hell.
The humidity was
just destroyed me. I'd worn Vass and was plenty aware of chafe by then, but I was chafing in places I didn't even know I had skin. It was horrific. And then I flew into Perth and ran. Perth hugged the southern coastline of Australia all the way up to Brizzy, which was phenomenal. That is one of the favourite paths, like running across the Nullarbor, the Eyre Peninsula, down Augusta, and then through up the southern coast of New South Wales was
incredible.
Just incredible, incredible. And I've never really been there, so incredible.
It is impressive, and the memories that you'd have would be, ridiculous. So a couple of selfish questions for me to finish off before we let you go to your next talk. Food wise and sleeping and everything like that. How many calories were you consuming a day? Were you really like strict on your diet, or were you just eating whatever you could get your hands on?
Yeah, it was really hard to be strict on the diet because we just didn't know where we're gonna get food from next.
Yeah.
It was pretty easy globally. It was pretty easy. Well, I mean, but we had to play it safe as well. I didn't want to eat too much, like delicacies of the local place, just in case my body didn't agree with it. So I was consuming like literally a lot of like burgers, like kebabs, pizzas and stuff for dinner, just because they're high calorie and simple, easy to get, relatively cheap. For breakfast, it was like oats a lot of the time at the start, and then I sort of got over it, got flavour fatigue pretty heavily. Then we had scrambled eggs and avocado.
That would have been life-changing, going from oats to
it was. Like, I had oats for the first like 100 days, and now I dry reach when I even the thought of it. I can't have, like, I had like something like 2,000 bananas, and I can't go near. I haven't been near a banana since I've been home. Can't do it.
I'll go on here.
Even the smell is off-putting. So, but yeah, it wasn't really strict on the diet. And then throughout the day, I didn't eat any gels. I just I ate like whole foods. They're processed, but like I tried to have like ham and cheese wraps or ham and cheese rolls and tailwind. Like, so I had liquid nutrition from that end.
So with the tailwind, is it just like a super carb dense drink or something?
Yeah. So it's like carb / electrolyte. Like, you can sort of pick and choose which one you want. So we were drinking that, and then like at the end of each night, for a lot of the start, I was just having ice cream, just for calories. So I was probably burning between 6,000 and 7,000 calories a day.
Wow.
And that over time, my body adapted to it and fat adapted. So I wasn't burning anywhere near as many calories, or I wasn't.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, but I was still consuming. So actually, my weight fluctuated quite a lot. Throughout the run, but I just sort of ate what I could get my hands on. I never really went hungry. Never bonked because I didn't have food. Sleeping was really challenging. Really, like, I think out of the 570 days, I reckon I had 40 to 50 full nights sleep, just because I just so much going on and so much head noise with what are we doing tomorrow? What's it look like? I'd fall asleep really easy. But then wake up at like midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and sort of just lie there. And then all of a sudden I was up running again.
Because I was worried. Did you ever have like any nerve pain or anything through your body from fatigue at all, or was it just more so the head noise that kept you awake?
Never any twitching or anything like that. There was never any. I didn't stay awake because of any pain.
Wow, you're a stud in the running department, like to not have any of that pain or.
I think I was running it, but I wasn't running at a pace where I wasn't torching anything. It was just plodding, basically.
A pure volume for me, I would think that you'd still get some. So the fact that you didn't...
never had DOMs or anything like that. Never. There was a couple of days where I had like monster days in the hills. But even still, I'd just wake up the next day, start walking, start jogging, and away you go. And then it was more just, it was bored. Like, sometimes we're just really, like, you were getting bored because it was just the same. Like, there was time in Argentina when I ran for 3 days and did not take a turn. This was just a straight road. I was like, holy shit, for like 170 Ks.
This is boring.
This is boring. Same farmland, same road. I was just looking straight ahead. And I was just like, oh my God, this is going to stop soon. And then you look at my Strava and it looks like I made it up. Because it's just the same for 3 days straight.
That's ridiculous. And I know we briefly touched on it, but your body, when you finish, like, I know a lot of people would be assuming that your body would be absolutely cactus after running 26,000 plus kilometers. But how you said you were running a couple of days later, and
it's stiff. Like, it's definitely not. It's not operating at 100%. That's for sure. It's just this. So my hamstring tendons have thickened, and they're shorter.
Really?
So I'm just tight through the hammies. So we're just, and ever since I got back, my stretching protocol is not as strong as it should be. But that's probably it. I'm just really tight through the hammies, probably lower back. But no joint issues. I've had blood tests, heart scan, skin check, and all given the tick of approval.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. And just the head noise about like just fluctuating through missing the adventure, and trying to re-assimilate to life.
Yes.
That's just going to take time, and just got to try and then another point that I learned, you just got to be kind to yourself as well. Like, I came back and I'm like, all right, what's next? I've got to capitalize on this.
Yes.
And I probably haven't given myself enough time to recover, but that's a learning. Yeah. Next time I do something like this, I'll make sure that that I set aside time at the end to go, don't worry about it. People aren't going to forget about you in like a week or 2 weeks.
Dude, you're one of 8 people who've done something like this, and the second fastest person to ever do it.
Yeah.
You're not going to be forgotten about. I'll give you that hot tip.
So it's been so apart from that, I feel back running, back in the gym, cruising along.
And what's next? I know you might not want to talk about it, but I know you're also jumping into sharing the story and the adventures with the aim to inspire. So maybe that's something you want to talk about quickly.
Yeah, definitely. So I loved being on stage. You know, I love telling, hopefully tell my story so it resonates with the audience, and they aspire for more, as opposed to me inspiring them to want for more. The more I can do that, get to do some travel with it as well, get to meet amazing people doing cool shit and people far smarter than me, right? Like that can help me and direct me. So that's one thing I'm really hoping to push along is public speaking and running goal setting programs and stuff like that. But then also I want the world to move. I want to get the world moving. That's my big goal now, is just get people up and moving, whatever that looks like for them. It can be anything, but movement's so important, right? And so many benefits of it from a preventative health perspective, right? And we're just controlled by big pharma, right? So,
I know.
So let's move more, and then I do have a goal in the works running wise, and
follow you to find out.
And jump on Timmy Franklin to find out. Absolutely.
For those following along, we've had Tim Runs the World, Timmy Franklin, the second fastest person to ever run around the world. To find out more information, you can go to the show notes and you'll be able to find it out. But definitely, if you're from a business or an organization who been inspired by what you've heard here and you want to see more, I would highly recommend jumping over to his website and seeing how you can get him to come speak. Because your energy, like, it's very different sitting with someone as opposed to listening on a podcast. But your energy from the moment, I saw you driving past in the car, it's just like, you're a freaking awesome dude, high energy, and it's made me feel inspired and good. And if we can get you around more people, it's going to keep happening. So if you're in a position to do that or connect him with people, please do that. And especially my American buddies listening. I don't know if you guys know anyone who's run around the world, but we do. So let's get that going on. But that's Tim Franklin. He ran around the world 576 days, second fastest man to do it, and an incredible bloke. Even better story, more to come. Thank you guys for listening. And if you enjoyed it, share it. Timmy, thank you very much, mate.
Thanks so much for having me. Thanks,
Cheers, mate.